Songs go viral on TikTok all the time. It's the norm of the music industry since 2020, and before TikTok, people were going viral on YouTube, Vine, SoundCloud, whatever, you name it. 99% of the artists who have that big viral moment fade right back into obscurity. Some tried too hard to replicate the sound that got them that moment without fully understanding why people liked it so much. Others went viral off their first song and then maybe didn't have the dedication or even the interest in carving out a true music career in today's super confusing and complicated music industry. But there is a small percentage of artists who can use their moment of virality to build a fan base and jumpstart a long and successful career. I can't think of an artist who is more primed to take advantage of that opportunity than Tommy Richmond. By now, you've probably at least heard the snippet for his song $1 Million Baby, if not the whole song. The sound took over TikTok late last month, and Tommy quickly jumped on the opportunity to unleash the full track, giving us two versions, the original and the VHS version, which basically is like bass boosted to kind of match the sound that they got from recording the snippet on a VHS camera. The snippet itself was a video of Tommy and his boys just like having fun in the studio making the song. Once it came out, it delivered on the snippet hype, and people ran up both versions to the point where the song is going to debut on the Billboard Hot 100, and pretty high up too. To a lot of people, I'm sure it feels like Tommy Richmond is coming out of nowhere. But as someone who has known him and his music personally for a few years now, I've honestly expected a moment like this for a while now. As I introduce some of y'all to Tommy, I want to highlight all the reasons why he's here to stay. So we gotta hit like the boring biography stuff first. Tommy is from Woodbridge, Virginia, which may not jump off the page as like a place to be a musician from, but hey, the state of Virginia has produced some legendary artists like Timbaland, Pharrell, and the Clips. And more recently, the country standout Shaboozey actually happens to be from Woodbridge, Virginia as well. But Tommy has been living in LA now for a couple years. And first and foremost, when we talk about the reasons why he's here to stay, we gotta start with the music. But before that, if you like videos on music, which I'm guessing you do if you found your way here, I'd really appreciate a like and subscribe. I do videos once a week, and if you want to see them a little early, go to my Instagram, HADJI, throw me a follow, and join my broadcast channel. I post all the videos in there one day early. Also, I have a song coming out this month. I just finished editing the video. I'm really hyped for it, so keep an eye out for that. And if you're in New York, this Friday, May 10th, I'm playing a show with Tidal, and I'll put the link for that in the description. All right, back to the video. So Tommy's been putting out music since at least 2016, with his earliest track on streaming from then being Ballin' Stallin'. He's rapping on a boom bap beat. Sounds totally different from the stuff that he makes now, but when you hear the tone of his voice, you can definitely see that this is the same guy, especially when you listen to the chorus and the backing vocals. His releases from 2019 to 2021 are inching a lot closer to the sound that we know him for today, more founded in R&B and indie. Sandman is a song that I first heard in April of 2021. I remember where I was when I first heard it. I was driving from LA to Arizona with my friend and fellow artist Papi Chulo Tej, and he was like, yo, have you heard of this kid Tommy Richmond? I was like, nah, I haven't. And he played me Sandman. It reminded me of Toro y Moi's Anything in Return, which is a big compliment for me because that album meant a lot to me when I was in high school. It's both like nostalgic and futuristic at the same time. I was immediately tapped in from there. That same year, a lot more people would become hip to Tommy for the first time when a snippet for his song Chrono Trigger started to go mini viral on TikTok. It looks like a lot of his older TikToks are gone, but basically he would be like, hey, I just made this, and then play the snippet, and this one did pretty well. So people were anticipating it a little bit. You can see it was covered by blogs like Lyrical Lemonade. Chrono Trigger is a lot faster and more punk than a song like $1 Million Baby, but it features that same kind of like retro-ish soul in his voice. Now about that voice, Tommy is actually a trained opera singer who was studying opera before his solo music career took off. He's not alone in that. If you know JP, like Bad Biddy, like hey, oh hey, front row shaking, she a bad, then you might not be surprised to know that JP also studied opera at some point. That might explain how Tommy is stacking his vocals and hitting his falsetto with this crazy amount of power. That's what really, to me, makes him stand out from a lot of other artists in the R&B space and in the indie space. Maybe the cheat code to making unique and infectious music in 2024 is to be an opera student. So he dropped 3 more singles in late 2021 and early 2022. Of those, Stargirl is a personal favorite of mine. It's sweeter and a little more down-tempo than Chrono Trigger, and it's probably a little bit closer to the sound of what he's doing today. So if you love $1 Million Baby, I feel like that might be a good place to go back and start. The next single, Games, has a lot more of that punk energy in it that we saw with Chrono Trigger. And this one really ripped its way through the music industry. It ended up getting premiered by Zane Lowe on his Beats One show on Apple Music. Now I know, people are gonna say, doesn't that make him an industry plant? Well, if having your song played by Zane Lowe on the Beats One radio station makes you an industry plant, then you're looking at an industry plant right now. Because my song Boy got played by Zane Lowe when it came out last March. I've never been signed to anybody. I didn't even know it was going to happen. Apple Music has like A&Rs and employees whose job it is to find undiscovered music like that, and then spotlight artists that they think have potential. It doesn't mean that it's all being planted. I can tell you that firsthand. Like, I just got a DM from a guy that I had never really talked to before who was like, yo, your song's about to play on the Zane Lowe station. And I was like, sweet. All right, so now that we got that out of the way, around the same time, Tommy dropped a collab with a rapper named My Name Isn't J-Mac. We're going to talk about J-Mac a lot more later. This song is called Bunker/Pre-Roll. This song fucking bangs. If you're coming from more of the hip-hop side, I think this is a great place to start. These two have incredible chemistry. They're both from Virginia. J-Mac's rapping his ass off, Tommy's singing his ass off. And the producer, John Waymeyer, went insane too. Incredibly talented producer. The song got played on Frank Ocean's Homer Radio, which definitely also helped introduce both Tommy and J-Mac to a newer audience. So Tommy's next project, Alligator, was released through the LA independent label Bloom Records. More on that later. Musically, Alligator has some of my favorite Tommy songs on it, especially Electrified Tonight. That song truly sounds like it came right out of a time machine, with the vintage sounding vocals and the high-pitched screams that just like cut through every time. That's probably the song that I would show people the most when I was trying to put people onto Tommy. After that project, he dropped 2 singles, Wish I Never Knew You and 30 Till Midnight, before announcing he signed with ISO Supremacy, which is Brent Faiyaz's new label. Again, we'll talk about like the label stuff later, but his first single with them, Last Night, was a bit of a coming out party for Tommy, as he started to gain even more attention, especially after the song was added to Fortnite. I know every time I would get in the G-Wagon with my boys in Fortnite and I was driving, I would try to find it on the station. Y'all don't want to see me on Fortnite, by the way, I'm different. And so around the same time, Tommy set out on tour with Brent. He was on that Brent album too, on the song Upset, along with Felix, another artist you should keep an eye out for. Upset ended up being one of the most popular songs on the album, which again introduced Tommy to a bigger and bigger audience. So this guy didn't come out of nowhere. And once he had that platform, he teased $1 Million Baby, the algorithm did what it did, and the rest is history. Tommy's sound touches on a lot of different worlds. His melodies and chord progressions feel like modern alternative R&B-ish, especially the more recent songs that he's been putting out. But his vocal stacking is so cool and unique. He works in multiple registers and has a really strong voice in multiple registers, in the falsetto, in the lower voice, in like the shouty voice, and he harmonizes a lot. And something about the tone of his voice just feels so nostalgic, like you're listening to an artist legitimately from the past. It makes him sound like a time traveler because his music doesn't sound like it's from the past. It sounds like it's from the future and the past at the same time. I think that's a big reason why the $1 Million Baby snippet hit people like a ton of bricks. It feels like it's scratching an itch that a lot of newer artists just aren't scratching. There are plenty of artists who sound like retro or nostalgic in a certain way, but not a lot of people can do that while sounding modern. So the sound is what gets you in the door, but to truly be set up for success, you need a few more things than that. And one of those things is good business. When Chrono Trigger first picked up a little bit of viral steam in 2021, Tommy did a short-term deal with a company called Big Effect, which is under Universal Music Enterprises. And in that deal, he released Chrono Trigger and then the next 3 singles after that, Stargirl, Games, and Paycheck. You can see in all 4 of these releases on Spotify that they're under exclusive license to UMG through Universal Music Enterprises. I did some research, and Big Effect is a company run by a guy named Mike Bigani. I hope I'm saying that right, I'm not really sure. Who used to be the executive vice president of music strategy and tactics at UMG. Sometime this year, according to his LinkedIn, he left to run Big Effect full time. Now, I know the question that you're probably gonna ask, and the answer is still no. Tommy Richmond is not an industry plant. Yes, he released a few singles with a company that is a part of a major label system, but let's talk about it. So the Big Effect company that released those 4 Tommy songs doesn't really have that many other releases according to the internet, but there were a few other songs that I found, like Insecurities by Real Topeka People. And that song has a little blog post from Sheesh Media back in 2021 when it came out. Let's read it word for word. On August 12, 2021, Wexelman, who's one of the artists, posted a TikTok titled, How to Make Indie Dance Music. The song shown in the video was Insecurities. The TikTok blew up, raking in 104K likes and 3.1 million views. This resulted in a deal to release the song with Universal Music Enterprises under an exclusive license. There you go. So just like Chrono Trigger around the same time, that song went viral on TikTok, and UME, or Universal Music Enterprises, which is under UMG, scooped it up on a short-term deal, rather than sign the artist for the rest of their career. If you look at the rest of the Real Topeka People releases, none of them are with UMG. And after those 4 songs, the same can be said for Tommy Richmond. So he built that TikTok buzz on his own, posting his own videos before UMG stepped in and then started providing some resources. And they aren't working together now, so you can set any of those conspiracy theories to the side. After all, even though the UMG TikTok deal is now back on and their music is on. If Tommy was signed to them, then the $1 Million Baby snippet wouldn't have been working on TikTok back when it was first teased, right? So there you go. One of the reasons why Tommy is set up to thrive is that he made the smart decision of taking short-term business deals at every step in his career. When he had that viral moment, he did a short deal. He then went from that short deal into another short deal, a one-project deal with Boom Records for the Alligator project. As you can see, Alligator and the songs on Alligator are his only releases with them. Boom Records has a pretty good track record. As going through their roster, you can see a lot of artists who have had success or ended up having success after them. Paul Russell, you know, the "She My Little Blue Thing." He was releasing with them up until that Lil Boo Thang snippet went viral, and now he's signed to Arista Records, which is a part of Sony, which is a major label. Instead of Tommy locking himself into some sort of like eternal deal, like the ones that a lot of people get offered when their TikToks go viral, he did these short stepping stone deals that always allowed him to leverage whatever was coming next. And that next opportunity came knocking through the form of Brent Faiyaz and his new label Supremacy, which is a partnership with Pulse. There are a few things to break down here. Firstly, Brent Faiyaz is famous for being independent, so there's no surprise that this new operation is outside of the major label system. The definition of the word independent depends on who you ask, but to most people in the music industry, when they use the word independent, they usually mean the artist is not partnered with an entity that is under the umbrella of one of the three major labels, UMG, Sony, or Warner Music Group. The company that Brent partnered with, Pulse, is a publishing company, and it's one of the more prominent ones in the industry, but it is not owned by one of those three companies. Publishing is all about songwriting, and the royalties generated from that. Your publishing is administered separately from the royalties that come from the master side of your recording. And you can be signed in both of those regards to two different entities. You can be signed to a major label for your master recordings, but then not be signed on the publishing side, or be signed to an independent publisher. Or you could be signed in a publishing deal to a company that's under one of the big three, but then not be signed on the record label side. Got it? Probably not. It's so complicated, and most musicians don't even understand it themselves, but whatever. Pulse went ahead and created their own record label, so they're expanding from just doing publishing to also doing the recording side and the releasing of music now. And under that label, they partnered with Brent to create Supremacy. And under that umbrella is Tommy Richmond, and all of his songs from Last Night onward are included in that. Partnering with an artist who knows the value of being independent bodes well for Tommy in the future as well. There are pros and cons to aligning yourself with a bigger artist on the business side. On one hand, it can give you great exposure to an audience that you already know, if the genres are similar enough, probably are going to like your music. Getting to go on the Brent tour was probably amazing for Tommy. We'll talk about shows a little bit more later. The downside is that it can be difficult to break out of the shadow of a bigger artist. It's not always some conspiracy like the way people talk about the artist signed to Drake being in the OVO sweatshop writing songs for Drake. Like sometimes it's just hard to catch up to somebody who's already so big. It's not always some sort of cutthroat, like mysterious thing. You know, Brent is in like the 1% of the 1% of artists. He's a superstar in the R&B world. He sells out tours. He has a diehard fan base that eat up everything he drops. What's pretty mind-blowing though is that the highest charting song in his career is a feature for 21 Savage, Shoulda Worn a Bonnet, at number 40. I'm filming this before the Billboard charts update, but right now, as I film it, $1 Million Baby is being projected to go number 2 or number 3. Charts are fickle, and obviously there's a really long way before Tommy can say that he's built a career like the one that Brent Faiyaz has, but he's for sure on the right path. Let's talk shows. Getting live performances to be strong is something that artists that go viral, especially in recent years, have really struggled with figuring out. You get famous in your bedroom, and then all of a sudden you have to play in front of hundreds of people who want to buy tickets to your shows. There's a reason why Pink Panther has played a lot of smaller venues than she probably could have sold out when she first started touring. She had to get comfortable and learn how to do the whole live performance thing first. Look, I've been on stage in front of hundreds of people before, and it's scary. It's really scary. And I've had a very steady climb. A lot of these artists just go from piano recitals to hundreds of people. It's a really difficult thing to manage, and the public is not forgiving about it either. People were making fun of Ice Spice's early shows. She's since stepped it up big time, but it's another example of how it can really take some time for you to get that side of your artistry down. Luckily for Tommy, he's been preparing for this moment for years by performing live and honing his craft. He and his friends, more on them later, have been throwing shows called Everything is Punk in LA and New York for a couple years now. If you want to see a breakdown of what they're like, this channel Live to Create did a really cool recap video of one of them. I'll link it in the description. Even beyond the Everything is Punk shows, Tommy has been putting on high energy and raucous performances for a minute now. I've been to at least 2, and I feel like it's more, I just can't remember. One of them in April 2022 at the Mint in Los Angeles, and the other one in October 2022 when he was performing with my friend Boone at Star Bar. I didn't take any videos either because I'm an idiot or because I like to live in the moment. I'll let y'all decide. You're just gonna have to take my word for it. Both of those performances were awesome. Alright, so one of the things that really excites me about Tommy's success is knowing that now everyone else in this scene can start to get some of the shine that they deserve as well. Just from the snippet video, you can see Paco, who makes awesome alternative R&B pop music. He gets bilingual with it too. If you like what Tommy has going on, or you like an artist like Omar Apollo, you will definitely like Paco. You might know him from the Ghosts and Ghouls song that they did. It's on YouTube where they sampled the Luigi's Mansion song. And I've heard some of the stuff that Paco's working on this year, and it is crazy. Trust me, stay tuned. And if you like that beat on Ghosts and Ghouls, or the one on $1 Million Baby, then you're already hip to Jonah Roy. Having worked with Jonah personally, he produced my song Snow Globe. I can tell you that this man is a genius, for real. His solo music is also really sick. His song F That is a personal favorite. He's him. Let's put it that way. I don't know if he's got more solo stuff coming, but I'm definitely ready for it. Trevor Spitta, also in this video. He's a rapper who's done some stuff with Tommy. He's got some crazy flows, crazy bars, picks great beats, does really cool videos. He's gonna be out of here soon enough. I already talked about My Name Isn't J-Mac when we were talking about Bunker Pre-Roll, but he deserves his own shout out again because his solo music is awesome. If you're a rap fan who likes clever and introspective bars over great and fresh production, think like, I don't know, Isaiah Rashad, and you'll love J-Mac. He just dropped a song with Mick Jenkins and Femdot that's super fire. He has an album coming out really soon. We've also got some stuff together. I don't know when it's coming, but the day that it does, you will know. Also got to shout out Felix. Like I said before, he was on that Upset song, the Brent Faiyaz song that Tommy's on. He just dropped an EP called Some Days Are Better Than Others. Today is Not That Day. Fire, high energy, kind of like rap rock mix. If you f with Van Buren or any of the stuff that Van Buren has done in the past, he's a member of them. He makes awesome music, solo and with the group. Highly recommend checking him out. So yeah, what excites me about all of this happening, besides knowing Tommy personally and knowing that he's a good person who deserves it, is that having watched him work in the studio myself, because we've made music before too, I know he's really cut out for this. Doing video essays on artists is always interesting because you're kind of from the outside watching someone's rise go, and then you have to research and learn about them. But for me, like, I've kind of lived in this for the past like 3 years. Like, this has been my reality. Like, I listen to hella Tommy Richmond, and I'm like actually qualified to talk about a topic for once. So it's pretty cool. I know he is one of them ones. Having made music with him before, I've seen it myself. I'm glad the rest of the world gets to see it and appreciate it too.